Let's talk about Classic Chrome. Recently, I made two new Sony film simulations. One is a replica after the Fujifilm Classic Chrome film simulation, and the other one is a picture profile made after the original Kodachrome 64 film stock. And in this video, I'll explain in detail the main characteristics and differences between the Fujifilm and the Sony Classic Chrome. Let me know in the comments if you want to find out more about the Kodachrome 64 film simulation, and I'll make another video about it. Before we start, remember, all Sony film simulation recipes can be found on my website. Let's start with the Classic Chrome. This Sony picture profile was made after the Fujifilm simulation, and I used the Fuji X-S10 to compare the two sample clips. As you can see, they look very similar with some slight differences. They are identical in terms of contrast. Fuji seems to have a better dynamic range, but with worse noise performance. And in terms of color, it's about 90% matching, which is a pretty good result taken into consideration I was able to do this in camera only with the use of the picture profile settings. As you can see, the Sony is much cleaner and has more details than the Fuji, which seems pretty muddy. Because of the light gathering capabilities of the Sony a7 III, the sensor captures about a stop more light than the Fuji. So I had to lower down the exposure by one stop to match the brightness in the two cameras, which again, will give the Sony much cleaner results and has a clear advantage here. Unfortunately, with the Cine1 Gamma on Sony, the dynamic range seems to be a little bit lower than the Fuji at first glance, but one thing to remember is that the Cine1 Gamma is a low light profile and has 109% output, which means you can recover 9% of the burnt highlights. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. As you can see in this image, it seems like the highlights are completely blown out, but if we start to recover the highlights and the shadows, we can see that it actually contains more detail and has higher dynamic range than initially seemed like. And remember, this is only 8-bit. On 10-bit cameras, you'll have a better color rendition and even less noise. You could set the profile to Cine 4 to increase the dynamic range inside the camera, but the noise performance lowers considerably and the colors shift a lot, especially the yellows shift towards green and skin tones towards pink, which for me personally is a big no-no. In theory, the Cine 4 skin tones can be easily corrected in camera just by lowering the color phase to, let's say, -2, and that will shift the reds a little bit more towards orange. But that will change the whole color spectrum, shifting the yellows even closer to green, and I honestly just don't like that for a look. From my experience, the yellow is the most problematic of all colors, especially on the Sonys. That's why some companies like Canon choose to desaturate their yellows inside the camera to render perfect skin tones. Also, fun fact, yellow doesn't even exist, at least not how we see it. The human eye can only capture colors of red, blue, and greens. Yellows and magentas are actually generated by the brain. If you don't mind the color shifting of the Cine 4, you can definitely use it instead of Cine 1 for higher dynamic range, but only in well-lit conditions. In low-light situations, I find the Cine 4 to be quite noisy without applying some noise reduction. So besides that, let's take a closer look at the colors. The Sony reds are shifted towards pink, while Fuji is more orange. The Sony greens are more olive, while Fuji greens are shifted towards cyan. And the yellows are very close, Fuji being shifted towards orange, while Sony looking more accurate to real life. The rest of the colors are more or less identical. Overall, I would rate this profile 90% identical to the Fujifilm. And you know, we were really paying close attention to the color differences. But when shooting in a real life situation, it might not even be that obvious, but you still get really nice colors out of the camera. But still, let's bring it even closer to the Fujifilm colors, and I'll show you exactly how to further adjust it in Davinci Resolve for a perfect match. So, in the color tab, in the hue versus hue menu, shift the reds towards orange. Next, take the greens and shift them just a little bit towards cyan. Now drag the yellows just a little bit towards orange. And finally, shift the cyan. Now let's see the final result. it's almost indistinguishable. To save you some time, I will upload this slot on my website so you can download it for free. That's pretty much all I want to show you about the Classic Chrome. Let's move on to the Kodachrome 64, a film stock that is more interesting to me. And that is because replicating the Kodachrome 64 was without any doubt my most difficult and biggest challenge of replicating any film stock. Let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about the Kodachrome 64 film simulation, and I'll make a video about it. Till next time, have fun and take care. See ya.